Hello beautiful people, you're welcome back to my channel. Thank you for clicking on this video, and if you're new to this channel, you are very welcome, and please hit the subscribe button to join this wonderful family. And I say a very big thank you to all my old subscribers, returning subscribers. You guys are doing wonderfully well. Thank you so much for your support, for watching, liking and sharing my videos. Okay, so if you are yet to subscribe, it is free. Just hit on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell beside it so that you will not miss out on any of my new uploads. I upload video on sewing tutorials, fashion tips, DIYs, and I have a lot coming up on this channel, and I know you will not want to miss out on any of these wonderful tutorials that will be coming up. So now I want to show us another method of drafting a princess dart bustier, that is off shoulder princess dart bustier. I have given tutorials on this channel on how to draft off shoulder princess dart bustier, but I used a different method. So today I'll be showing you another method, and this one is also easy, so you can just compare whichever one you find easiest. You can stick to it. Okay, so looking at what we have here, this is just a basic bodice pattern. That is a basic bodice. Okay, so I just did it so that the video will not be too long, but let me quickly explain what I have here in case you're a beginner or you don't know what to have here. So this is just the basic bodice drafting. This is the shoulder line, that is the shoulder slant. The shoulder is not straight, it's slanty. So from the shoulder, I place the armhole length, then mark my armhole curve. Then this is the bust point, from the shoulder to the bust point. And this is from the shoulder to the under bust point, and from the shoulder to the waist. Okay, so depending on wherever you want your blouse to get to, you can mark from shoulder to hip and all that. So that is it. So having done this, now we'll then move to drafting the princess dart, to placing our dart. Okay, so I placed this paper on fold just for you to see the outcome of this drafting. So when you're working on your fabric, you fold your fabric based on your biggest measurement. Here the bust is the biggest measurement, so the bust divide by 4, okay, plus about 5 inches allowance. So the 5 inches should be for the dart, for your allowance also. Okay, depending on the length of allowance you want to use, or depending on the size of allowance you want to use. So you take your biggest measurement, divide by 4, you include your dart allowance, you include your seam allowance. Okay, so that is it. So having gotten to this stage, the next thing is to place the bust span. Okay, that is the nipple to nipple divide by 2. So I will place that here. In this case it is 4 inches. Then I'll add ½ inch because we'll be joining the darts. So that is 4.5. So I'll just mark 4.5 all the way to the length of the blouse, and I would connect. So this is the bust span. So now, having done this, we would place the under bust shaping, that is the dart. So in this case, I'm using 2 inches on this side and 1 inch on this side. So it depends on your bust cup measurement. I've explained that severally on this channel. How to get your bust cup size is your bust circumference minus your under bust circumference. Whatever you have, divide it by 2. Okay, by the time you divide by 2, that very answer you have, you would place on this side, and you place half of it on this side. But this formula does not work for everybody. We have people that are very busty, we have people that are not busty at all, we have people that are average. So this formula does not work for everybody. So I made another tutorial explaining how you can go about it. I'll be leaving the link to that video in the description box. Please do check it out. You see the arrow pointing down. By the time you click on it, it will take you to the description box, so you will see the link to that very video. It is very detailed, so I don't want this one to be too long. So at this side of the bust, under bust, I will place 2 inches. That I'll mark 2 inches on this side and 1 inch on this side. Okay, there are cases where you can take 1 inch here and ½ inch, 1.5 and 1. So depending on your bust cup size, please do watch the video. It is very important you understand what you're supposed to do at this point. Okay, so having done this now, I will just connect it. So you also mark it here. You mark at this point, that is 2 inches on this side and 1 inch on this side. So now I would just connect it. So I have it here. So having done this, at this bust point, I would step down by 1 inch. Just step down by 1 inch, okay, and connect. So now this 1 inch is for people that are of average bust size, but those that are very busty, you come down by 2 inches and you connect. So I'll be connecting it with my curve, okay. So just make a curve from this point to this point, like so. Then for this one, you can just connect it. It doesn't have to be curvy. So you have it there. So now we've gotten to this point. The next thing, we'll place our neckline. Now this is an off shoulder. We're making an off shoulder blouse or top. Like in the previous tutorial, we minus the shoulder completely before we started drafting, but some people are a bit confused about that very method. That is why I'm using this method, whereby you have your complete basic bodies on the paper. Okay, so now you would mark from your shoulder to wherever you want your that is the neckline of your off shoulder, wherever you want it to be, mark it. Okay, so if you want it as deep as 5 inches, you take. So it depends on what you want, how deep or how high you want it to be. So in the other method, you just minus it at once. That is, if you're taking, if you want your neck depth to be 5 inches, you just place your tape minusing that 5 inches, and you then mark the other measurement, your vertical measurement. But here we have included the shoulder, which will be cutting off. That is why it is off shoulder. So we'll be removing the shoulder. So from your shoulder line, mark your neckline, how deep or how high you want it to be. So now I want mine to be 5.5 inches, or let's say 5 inches is okay, so it won't be too low. Okay, so I'll mark at 5 inches. Just mark it, but I want it a bit curvy. So because I want it a bit curvy, I would step up. Okay, so I would mark at, you can mark at ½ inch before the original neckline or 1 inch before it. So you see what I mean by that. So let me use 4 inches, so that from the 4 inches I'll curve it down. By the time I curve it down, I will achieve that 5 inches depth I want. So I hope this is clear. If you want it at 5 inches and you want it curvy, you then mark 1 inch before the original neckline. So I'm marking at 4 inches. So you can use 1 inch or ½ inch. So by the time I draw the line, you will understand. So I'll name this. This is the neckline. Okay, this is the line for the neckline. So having done this, the next thing to do now, we would mark the width. Okay, the width of the neck, how wide you want it to be. So I usually take, like the bust span I have, I'll add 1 inch to it. That is what I usually mark for my neckline, but you can make yours as wide as you want. So I hope you understand this. So whatever the bust span is, here now the bust span is 4 inches, right? So plus 1, that is 5. That is what I usually use for the neckline. So I would mark 5 inches. So this is the neckline. So by the time you mark the neckline, the next thing you do is to create a new armhole. Now you create your off shoulder armhole, connecting from this point to the former armhole measurements you have. Okay, so what you do, you just connect like so from here to that armhole. So this will now be your off shoulder armhole. Okay, so this is your off shoulder armhole. So having done this, now you can now give your neckline the shape you want. If you want a sweetheart neckline, you can just come up and go down like so. Okay, that is, you can just go this way. You have your sweetheart neckline. This is something like this. From the initial, that is the original neckline you want, you just go up like so to meet your armhole. That is, you just go this way. This will give you a sweetheart neckline, so you can just shape it the way you want. Then if you want it round, that is curvy, what you will do, like I want my curvy, now I would, now from this point I will now curve it down to the 5 inches depth I took. So I hope you understand now. If you want your neckline to be 5 inches, you initially mark at 4, then from that 4 you now curve it down, so you have that curvy round neck. Okay, so I'll just curve it from here down like so. So this is it. So you can see what I have here now. You can see how curvy it is, and I have my neckline, the depth I want. Okay, and this is it. So by the time you have gotten to this stage, the next thing is now to create your princess dart cut. Okay, so you know your princess dart is coming from the armhole. So what you will do now is this. From this point, you would measure 2.5 inches. Just measure 2.5 inches. Okay, then now you connect it to the bust point. So just connect it to the bust point like so. So by the time you have connected it, you mark 1 inch on this side and 1 inch on this other side. So here you mark 1 inch, and on this side you mark 1 inch. Now on this line you connected to the bust point, come up by 1 inch. So if the person is busting, whatever you place here, if it's 2 inches, you step down at this point, you come up by 2 inches. That is to create a bigger bust curve that would accommodate the bust. Okay, so by the time you have done this, now you connect from this point to this point, and from this point to this point. So you just connect like so, and you connect this one as well. Sorry. So you have it there. Okay, so now we have our curve, but we'll have to smoothen it out here. We'll have to give it a nice shape, a nice curve. Okay, so what you do, just place your curve connecting this point to this point, and you blend it out. So you just place it like so, and you just blend it out. Okay, so you have a nice curve there. So you can see what we have. We've eliminated the pointing edge. So this is our curve coming this way. So just blend it. Okay, and you can see how beautiful it is. So this is just it. So the next thing is to place the horizontal measurement. So now I've got my bust point measurement on this line already. So that covers up for this. The next is to place the under bust circumference, which is 8 inches. That is my under bust divided by 4. That is 8 inches. So you have to replace this dart. So we have 2 inches on this side and 1 inch on this side. That is 3 inches. So you replace it. Okay, now that is not all. Even at this side, you have to replace this dart, please. You have 2 inches here. That is 1 inch on this side and 1 inch on this side. So you have to replace it here, 2 inches. You mark it. And in order for your blouse to match up, you also extend this by the 2 inches you took here. So if you note, you see that this side is now longer than this side, that by the time you join, you can see that this is where this one would be here. You can see that this side will be longer. Okay, so you have to extend this by that 2 inches you took here, 1 inch, 1 each here, or you measure this line and you measure this line, then you extend this one by the difference. But in a simple way, just add that 2 inches you took. By the time you join, what you do, I will explain this to you. By the time you join, whatever excess you have, you trim it. So just extend this side by the 2 inches. Okay, and you would create a new armhole on this side. Just connect from this point to that point. First of all, extend this. Just extend this one. Then you connect it so that you'll be having a new armhole there. So this is to make sure that your blouse matches up by the time you stitch. Okay, so having gotten to this stage, I have placed the under bust circumference. The next thing is the waist, which is 8.5 inches. 8.5. You mark it and you replace your 3 inches dart. And you have it there. Okay, so having done this, you can add your allowance at once, or you just connect. After connecting, you add your allowance. So let me add allowance at once. So let me take 1 inch. So when you're doing this on your fabric, you can take up to 1.5 or 2 inches seam allowance. Okay, so now I would connect. So connect this point and you connect this point. So by the time you have done this, you just smoothing out this point so it won't be sharp or too sharp here. Just blend it. So this is just it. Okay, we are done. We have our neckline, off shoulder neckline, our off shoulder armhole. So by the time we cut out this part, we'll join it, then every other thing. So this is just time to cut it out. So this is it. We have our off shoulder princess dart bustier. So when you do this on your fabric, what you will do, notch the bust point, because you might no longer have the marks. So always notch the bust point of your bustier. Okay, is it bustier or bustier? Whichever, but I know you understand what I'm saying. Okay, be it bustier, be it bustier. So have it here. So I will open it up so that you see what we have. You see why you need to notch it. At this point there is no mark, but with the notching you'll be able to connect the bust points so you can see. Okay, can you see what we have here? So now I'll try joining it and you see. Can you see our beautiful neckline and our well curved princess dart? So like I said, I'll leave a link in the description box so that you check out how to create this cup for people that are busty. Though that one is a princess, that is princess that we showed that, but it's still the same thing that you do there that you will also do here. So that's why I always say, if you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you won't miss out on any of my tutorials. As I am uploading them, you'll be getting the notifications. Okay, you'll be notified that I have uploaded a video and you just check it out. So now let me try joining it so that you see what we have here. And I have also taught how to pad your princess dart bustier, or yes, whichever one, be it the off shoulder or the one with the shoulder. I've taught how to pad that. I'll also leave the link there. Okay, so I don't want to be repeating everything I have taught. I just want you to be moving ahead. So whichever one you have not watched, the link will be there. Just click on it and you'll see. So like I said, there's an arrow pointing down. By the time you click on that arrow, it will take you to the description box where you get the link to all the other videos that are related. Okay, so when you want to join this, always match your bust point. So you just start from your bust point. Okay, so this is what I always advise. You just pin your bust point. Like I always advise you, pin your bustier whenever you are making a bustier. Just pin it before you start sewing. It helps a lot. By the time you just take it to your sewing machine and you start sewing like that, you might have it not matching up. Okay, you might have the fabric just misbehaving, but by the time you pin it up, you just follow the marking. That is, just follow your the way you pinned it. Just follow it that way and you stitch. Okay, so this is paper. I'm being careful not to tear it, so I'll go ahead and match it up and pin it down just the way it should be if you are stitching it. So I also explained in the previous tutorial, whenever you're making a bustier, always add enough allowance at the lower part for you to be able to trim it out by the time you are done stitching. In case you have any one being longer than the other, by the time you finish stitching, what you will do, you just take your actual measurement and you trim out the excess. It is better that way than by the time you finish stitching, you see that one is longer than the other and there's no way you can trim out the longest one, because by doing so you'll be shortening the length of your blouse. But by the time you have excess allowance, whatever you have would take your actual measurement. Your actual measurement will lie in it, and then you take your actual measurement and you trim out the rest. So always add allowance, about 1 to 2 inches allowance, okay, at the lower part. Do that always. That is just to be at the safe side. But if you measure, or if you mark you should draft, but if you get your draftings right, you see everything matching up, as you can see. Then on this side, you will see what I explained to you. You see that because of the 2 inches to 2, this side might be a bit longer. What you do is trim it. It's better for it to be longer than shorter. Okay, so it can be longer, it can be equal. So it is better that way than for it to be shorter. So you also come this side, you would match it up. So it's already matching up. We will not need to trim out anything. So you can see what I have here. Okay, so this is, so you can see what I have here. So let me also do same to this side so you see the full view of it. So can you see what we have here? I don't know if you can see this very well. This is paper. So this is, you see the neckline, the armhole. Okay, so you can join whatever type of off shoulder sleeve of your choice here. Okay, then you have the neckline. You can see this other side too. You can see the armhole. Okay, so this is just it. This is just simply how to draft an off-shoulder princess dad bustier. This is the second method I'm giving on this channel. So I have the first method whereby you subtract whatever neck depth you want, and at the end, by the time you finish drafting, you have the same thing. You achieve the same thing. Okay, in sewing you have different methods of achieving a particular thing. So this is it for the front. Now let me show you how to draft the back. Okay, so for the back, okay, this is zipper allowance. Okay, I've taken my 1-inch zipper allowance. Then I've taken my 1-inch zipper allowance. This is the bust point from the shoulder, the under bust point, the waist. Okay, just like we did for the front. Now I would place the neckline, and I've also marked the bust span. Okay, so for the neckline, the width must be the same with the front. Then for the depth, it can be exactly the same depth or lower. It is not really nice if the back is higher, that is, if the neckline is higher. So it's either the same depth, the same measurement you took for the depth, or a bit lower than that. So for me, I'm taking the same measurement. So I want 5 inches for my depth. I'll just mark it. But remember, I first of all mark it at 4 inches because I want to curve it down to the 5 inches. So this is it at 4 inches here. Okay, so just mark it. Now I will place the width. Remember, I used 5 inches for the width, and here it is. Then I'll connect. I will now create the armhole. So to create the armhole, it's just the same thing we did at the front. You have to place your bust circumference here. Okay, so there was no need for me to just curve it. So this is what you will do. If you just create, as in place your bust circumference here, then you connect. That is bust circumference divided by 4. Then you connect it. Okay, so this is the back armhole. So having done this, now it's time to create our darts. So for the back pattern, you can as well use just simple waist darts. Okay, so to create your waist dart, at the waist point, you mark 1/2 inch on this side and 1/2 inch on this side. Then you connect it to the bust. Okay, so this is your simple waist dart, and you don't need to cut it. You just sew it when you are sewing the blouse. But okay, this is the waist dart. But if you want to still have that princess cut look at the back, you also place your dart at the armhole also. Okay, that is it. You place your dart at the armhole as well. So what you will do is just to measure the armhole. So just this armhole curve, just measure it. Okay, so what I have here is 7 inches. So you just mark the midpoint. So the midpoint is 3.5, and you connect it to the bust point. So you just connect it to the bust point like so. Okay, so you can go ahead and just cut it out and you stitch, and this will be perfectly okay. But to just give it that fitting, we would mark 1/2 inch at this point, then 1/2 inch at this other side. Then you connect it to the bust. So we are not creating bust here at the back because there's no bust at the back. Okay, that we're not creating a cup at the back. So all you need is just the dart for fitting. Now note that you have to smoothen this side. You don't want sharp edge there, and you don't want to create a cup there. So you just blend out this point like I have done. Okay, and we'll simply have it here. So the next thing now is to replace our dart and also place our horizontal measurements. So remember, we took 1 inch here and 1 inch. That is 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. That is 1 inch. Replace it here. Okay, and also replace it here. So don't forget. Now you create the new armhole, just like we did on the front. So you just create it like this. Then you place the rest of the horizontal measurements and your allowance. So I'm using 1 inch seam allowance. Let me place it at once. Then at the under bust, you place the under bust circumference, divide by 4, replace this dart. So you measure the dart, okay, this is where it is, and I'll replace it like so. Then at the waist, I have 8.5. Replace my 1 inch dart, okay, and I add my 1 inch seam allowance. So here I haven't added my seam allowance, so let me do that. So I'm just using 1 inch because this is paper. That is 1 inch seam allowance. Remember, if you're cutting on your fabric, please add more than 1 inch. You can add from 1.5 to 2 inches, because by the time you join this side, you're already taking away ½ inch. So the allowance you're placing here should include the seam allowance for here and that you'll be using at this point. Remember, when placing your bust span, you added ½ inch, so that is for this side. Then the allowance you'll be adding at this other side should include the one you'll be using to join these darts. Okay, so that is just it. So now I would connect it. So this is it. So this is what we have here. So I think everything is in place. Now you curve the neckline. So I'm just using the same width and depth for the back and front, so it will just go rounded, and it will just go round. Okay, so just connect this and I have it like so. So this is simply how to create the back of your off-shoulder princess dart bustier. And like I said earlier, you can just use only the waist dart and you still be good to go. So now I would cut it out. So remember to extend your neckline to the zipper area, please. You should extend to the zipper area like so. Okay. So this is the back pattern, the back panel of our off-shoulder princess dart bustier. So you can see what we have here. Okay, so let's try to join it and see what we have there. So this is the back. Okay, so by the time you're done sewing it, it will lie flat at this side. Okay, because there's no bust, so it will just be flat, so it's not a bustier at the back. So this is the back, and we have our front with our well curved bustier. So now you just place it. You can see the armhole matching up, so you can see when you draft properly, your armhole will match up and everything will just align well. So this is it. You can see the neckline. Okay, so this is it about this tutorial, and I hope this is helpful to you. Please give it a like, okay, to encourage me to do more, and it will help YouTube to suggest it to other people. So give it a like, subscribe if you are not yet subscribed. Join this wonderful family. Just hit on the subscribe button. It is free. Just hit on it and turn on the notification bell so that whenever I upload a new video, you'll be notified. So thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video, and don't forget, do check the description box for other tutorials, detailed tutorials on how to achieve a bust cup for people with big bust size, how to pad your bustier, and other types of off shoulder that I have there. So whichever one you find easy, you can go with it, and I think this one is very easy. Okay, it's very easy. So thank you so much for watching. Remain blessed and see you in my next video.